The Nikki 1.5 was originally a very hyped update with a lot of new features coming to the game, but unfortunately the execution of the update, along with unwanted changes, has single-handedly lost the trust of many of its players. And people have been randomly losing some of the resources that they've grinded for. The story got an overhaul that a lot of people think is unnecessary and ruins a lot of parts of the game, taking it from a cozy game into something completely different. On top of this, there has been an increasing amount of predatory practices that Paper Games, who are the creators of Infinity Nikki, have been putting into the game, which are mostly executive decisions is what we think, but we are not sure where these decisions are actually coming from. 1.5 was a very hyped update in Infinity Nikki because of a lot of different reasons. First of all, we have the Steam launch, and because of the Steam launch, there was something by the dev setup and a little event where they were going to give out free pulls if they reach a certain amount of wish lists on the Steam store. So a lot of people were hyped for that because, hey, who doesn't like getting free pulls and free rewards for reaching milestones? In addition to that, they added a new miracle outfit. They also added co-op to the game, and one of the biggest updates is the ability to dye outfits and dye specific pieces of outfits as well, so that you can add a lot more customization to the game. And the game is all about customization. The point of the game, a lot of it, is dress up, customizing your character, so having more color customization was something that a lot of people were hyped for. But the execution, as we'll talk about later, ended up ruining it for a lot of people due to the resources that you need to spend to actually be able to dye the outfit. On top of this, there were many game optimizations that were supposed to fix a lot of the optimization bugs, but unfortunately this ultimately led to more problems with the game. I myself have experienced a lot of memory leaking, and a lot of my memory has been used to play the game and it runs way worse than it used to, but a lot of other people have been complaining about various other problems with the game in terms of how well it's running, and it's ultimately degraded in quality, the ability to play the game, and some people aren't even able to play the game at all because of getting locked in cutscenes and basically stopped from progressing through the story, or new players not being able to even do the starting of the game cutscene, which locks them out of the game completely. Now, as we talked about, the ability to dye outfits is probably one of the greatest additions to the game at a baseline. You can dye your stuff a bunch of different colors without having to evolve, and evolving can be very costly in terms of the amount of pulls, and getting duplicate pieces can take hundreds of pulls to be able to fully evolve an outfit. So them allowing you to change to different colors before is very good, but do note that some dye colors are still locked behind evolving outfits, and I'll talk about that more in the dye section later in the video. So first, let's talk about the new story. And the new story basically changes everything that the story was before. At the start of the game, you would start in Nikki's house and then travel to Maryland, where you'd get to explore the new area and go through everything that is new in the game. The open world, get to meet new characters, and Momo is also introduced at the very beginning. But now in the story, it is completely different. You start off in this sort of multi-universal setting where Nikki's old universe was destroyed and now you're going to another universe, and it kind of moves away from the isekai, but not really, because you're just going into another world. And it takes that and it's like you're going to another universe because your old universe is destroyed, and it's completely changing the backstory of our main character and where they came from. And it just kind of feels really weird because originally your ultimate goal in the start, that you were going on a more chill route, there was stakes to the world because you're trying to save the world, but you're having these magical outfit powers and it's more of like a fantasy fun sort of thing. But now in general it just seems a lot more serious, and the concept they're pushing is like Nikki is some sort of immortal person who can travel between universes, and it doesn't really make that much sense. And this is just me summarizing from what I experienced, because if you sign into the game, you'll automatically be forced into the new starting cutscene, which completely replaces the old starting cutscenes in the old start of the game. And I was just kind of confused as to what was happening because it didn't fit with all of the story that had came before. And a lot of people aren't liking this because it's so much different from what we got before, right? It's a complete change of pace and into a completely different direction. To put this into perspective for other games, if maybe you play a game like Genshin, I know probably like 80% of the people who are subbed to me are from when I used to make Genshin videos. So in a Genshin perspective, imagine if after we finished like Mondstadt and like Liyue, we kind of just got this entire rewriting of the story where it's like, okay, everything that happened in Mondstadt doesn't matter, everything that happened in Liyue doesn't matter, our sibling just doesn't exist anymore, and now we're just saving the world from threats. Like the Archon system doesn't matter anymore, and it's just kind of like everything that we had in the first two like regions just doesn't matter. Imagine if that happened in Genshin. People would be so confused, and that's kind of the level of confusion that we're reaching on Nikke. It doesn't really make much sense because you're kind of taking this thing that didn't exist and making it kind of forced into the game out of nowhere, while also taking out the story that happened before. Now, I'm not exactly sure what happens on a new account, but you go through that starter introduction story that replaces the old one just into Mirrorland maybe, or into the new world, and it's like that doesn't really do much like at all. It doesn't tell you enough about the story. It doesn't set up the world. It also doesn't teach you enough about the combat and the mechanics of the outfits in the game to actually like get you introduced to the game. So it seems like it's going to be a bad new player experience, and it's also just going to leave a lot of old players kind of confused because you have two contrasting stories in your head now, and that has been getting on a lot of people's nerves as well. So overall, the story is basically changing everything about the game, and the whole cozy element that we had before is kind of gone. They've stopped advertising the game as this cozy, chill, relaxing game, probably to try and get more players, but I don't think this is going to work because it ultimately just makes the story a lot more confusing for new and old players, and it's probably going to lose them a lot of their player base. Next, let's talk about the gacha, because ultimately this is a gacha game, and woo, this is actually a really bad one. So first, let's start off by talking about the pity on outfits. So the pity on outfits was changed from 180 to 220. Now, with every pull being about 120 gems and you also getting like 90 gems for doing your dailies, you actually get quite a bit. So this isn't as much as it seems like. You're able to get outfits relatively frequently. The thing about this is that the pity is increasing, right? And this mainly happened because you're going from 9 outfit pieces before to 11 with a pity of 1T each. So 9 times 20 is 180, which is what it was the pity before, like the hard pity to get an outfit. Now it's 11 times 20 because of the 11 outfit pieces at 220. This is already a big change and something that a lot of people are not happy with, because it's basically like the equivalent of, I'm going to come back to Genshin, right? It's if a 5-star went from 90 pulls to 110 pulls to get one, right? And soft pity, there is no soft pity in this game necessarily, so it's like just an extra 20 pulls, in this case about $33 to get that extra 2 pieces in terms of how much pull currency that you're going to need to buy from the shop. So $33 more just to get an outfit versus before, and obviously people are going to be outraged about that. And on top of this, they've also decreased the Mirror Crown rewards, which is the end game, and they did this indirectly. So the rewards are actually the same, but they extended the Mirror Crown from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And after a lot of complaints, they actually ended up rescinding that, so it's back down to 2 weeks. But at the start of the update, that had been what they had planned to do. So that would have led to about 80 less pulls per year. People complained about that a lot, and they changed it back, thankfully, because that is actually a high source of income for a lot of people, the end game. And having 80 less pulls per year is what would have resulted from that. So basically almost half an outfit, right? You'd be losing a full outfit set, you would be losing from that. So that's also one of the things that is kind of stinky, and like I don't see this as something that's valid to do. Basically what they're trying to do with this, it seems, is that, you know, going from 9 to 11 pieces, they're just trying to see how much money they can get out of their players, because if you're going to increase it, right, they have received a lot of backlash, but they're also going to be looking at the revenue from this patch. If the revenue from this patch goes up, then they're probably going to stick with it. So that's why a lot of people on the Reddit have been talking about a boycott, and a lot of people in general on Twitter have been talking about a boycott as well and boycotting the game. This hasn't been too prominent in the content creator space for Infinity Nikki because a lot of the people are under contract and they probably don't want to lose the contract working with the game, so they're deciding to stay silent instead of talking about the game and going in depth on everything, which it ultimately sucks, but I can understand why certain content creators are not going to want to talk about it in fear of losing contracts. That's just, if you're making money off of it, it's kind of hard to want to go and talk bad about it. But ultimately, that's why I'm making this video, because a lot of the established content creators in the Infinity Nikki space aren't going to be making content around this and spreading awareness and sending that backlash towards the company and the criticism that we don't want this. So that's one of the reasons why I'm making this video as well, because I do play the game, albeit very casually. I play the game. I would still like to see these changes made. So I just wanted to show you the kind of the wishing system and kind of how it's changed. So you can see here you have all of this stuff. So previously you could pretty much get an entire outfit in just 9 pieces, right? So it used to be 9. So these last 2 pieces just wouldn't be here, but they decided, okay, we're just going to add more pieces so that people have to spend more money to be able to get the outfits, right? So this applies for pretty much every limited outfit, right? So both of these new limited outfits, and what these outfits actually do in the game is you come over to your ability setup and they allow you to have basically special abilities between the different outfits that came before. So normally when you would jump, you would hover with this, and it hovers for like a little bit of time, but it very quickly like runs out of stamina and flows to the ground. But the other outfits, cosmetic difference, and then it also allows for like more stuff like that, right? But now if you were to do it, have different outfits, different effects, visuals. They're also going to give you pieces that are geared towards specific attributes, which will help for the end game, because the end game is based on basically how much stats of specific outfits, and it's basically like a stat check for the end game. So leveling up these outfits will give you a lot more stats, and then you can clear the end game, get more rewards. So having these outfits be more costly means it's going to be harder for people to get the outfits in general. So it's ultimately just a negative to have these increase as much as they are, right? And then also in that process, making it so that $33 more just for an outfit if you're going to want to pay for an outfit. So you're just going to be making more money off of the whales. And on top of that, if you want to fully max evolve an outfit where you can come to evolution, you're going to need to get multiple copies of the outfit, right? So if you wanted to do that, you're gonna have to pull $66 more to be able to max out the outfit, which is a lot more in terms of how much you're gonna have to pull. So they're basically just doing this so that they can get more money out of the whales, it seems. But it also ends up screwing over free-to-play players a lot of the time in the end as well, because of what it does. And it's ultimately just a scummy practice to increase pity, especially this far into the game. We're 6 patches into the game, and they're just now increasing everything. It seems like a kind of weird time, like 6 patches into the game, you're releasing a new miracle outfit, you're releasing all this new stuff, and you're also just increasing the item sets and the pity, and that ultimately just allows for more money for the game to make. But I feel like there's better ways to go about that. It's so scummy. Okay, so it says originally priced $49, but now it's marked down to $9.99. So you're basically making up a hypothetical price that doesn't exist so that you can sell something for a lot cheaper. Like this is so scummy. And I get that deals and stuff like that are very common in these type of games, and you'll see like 700% value, that type of stuff. Sure, it's still weird, but ultimately it's not as predatory as something like this where you're putting $50 just for like some sort of bathtub. You get a Momo outfit, the thing, and then the bathtub. It's like, you just get a bathtub and then the ability to wash your hair, and they're saying this is worth $50, but we're going to sell it to you for $10. And it's just very scammy and very scummy, and I don't like the way they're doing that as well. So a lot of people have been complaining about that as well, mainly because of the framing of the way that they're doing it rather than it just being a problem itself. Like if you just said, okay, the bathtub is $10, you get a lot of this stuff, you get this cool little animation thing where you can like sit in a bathtub, and then you also get like a hair washing emo and some new hair in a Momo skin. It's like, okay, $10, that seems fine. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, okay, I'm willing to pay $10 for that to get those cosmetics, to get those things. But if you're saying it's worth $50 and you're getting it on sale for 80% off, it just comes off as very scummy. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to do that, to artificially put a price higher and then put it on sale just to make it seem a specific way. That seems like it should be illegal if it's not, and it's overall just a really weird thing to do and something that a lot of people have been complaining about. So lastly, I wanted to talk about the addition of the dye workshop and why this is actually quite problematic. So I'll show you kind of what I mean by this. So you can now dye pieces of clothing, which is very good. This system on its own, amazing. You can change the glossiness, have everything how you want it to be, right? There's a bunch of color options. The thing is, you have to unlock these color palettes. If you wanted to unlock like extra colors outside of the base ones that come available, you have to unlock it through these. Now, these are called radiant prisms, and these are kind of hard to get. So I'll show you how to get them now. Now, the way you can get these materials is that you can go here into the tranquility droplets. Now, these are what you can use to get pulls every month. They're kind of similar to your other currency, so it would be 200 to get 5 pulls. But this 240 to get 15 radiant prisms, which I think it is worth it, but it just seems like a very weird way to lock everything behind paid stuff and behind pulling, especially when it's going to cost you 5 pulls worth of currency to get all of those, another 5 pulls worth of currency to get all of these, and then like 2 pulls worth of currency. So you're gonna have to sacrifice 5, 2. So you're gonna have to sacrifice 12 pulls pretty much to be able to get these. And I find that to be pretty weird. I don't know why they couldn't implement more of it into the game just normally. It is somewhat expensive to be able to get these. They're definitely worth it, but I feel like there could have been a better implementation of the dyeing system, just so that people can have access to more color palettes, because once you start to get into more color palettes, then it becomes a lot more expensive to be able to try and get everything that you want. So on top of this, if you were to look at like another color, so we can look at the hair colors, right? So looks good, right? But I believe to get to level 10, 11, 12, and 13 to be able to unlock these, you have to get to stage 1 of an evolution. To get 14, 15, 17, 18, all of these, you have to be able to get stage 2 of an evolution for that outfit that this piece belongs to, so that this hair belongs to. Then stage 3 unlocks custom colors as well. So you won't even have access to all of the colors in, I keep on messing up the hair. I keep on tying it back the other color. So you're going to have to get these copies of outfits, which can be gained through here at doing like an insane amount of draws, at doing 180 pulls on an outfit or 230 pulls on an outfit. So you're gonna have to pull quite a lot on an outfit if you want to be able to unlock these parts of the outfit, which is just a lot of pulls, right? This is pulls that's gonna take you a long time to get. So if you want to be able to unlock that, you're gonna have to pull quite a bit. So you're gonna be missing out on a lot of different colors. Now it's still better than before, because before the only way to get a very limited amount of different colors would be to get the duplicates of the outfit to be able to level it up. Now you can do it a lot easier, but it's still quite a bit of an issue in terms of, okay, now you're going to have these colors that are just never available to you. And if you want to pull for these outfits, it's going to be quite hard to pull for a bunch of outfits considering how expensive each one has gotten now and that they've gotten more expensive. So is going for duplicates of an outfit really going to be worth it when outfits are so expensive and you're going to have to, still going to want to get other outfits. You're going to want to save your pulls for other outfits, but because those outfits are so expensive and you need to save more pulls, it's now you can't really max out the outfits as you would before and get those duplicates. So it kind of makes it a lot harder from a gameplay perspective to get everything unlocked as well. So overall, 1.5 seems like an update that the devs are trying to see what they can get away with and all the things that they can do. And from the negative story changes that are making an incredibly big impact on the game and changing a lot of stuff, to the Steam release, not giving the rewards at the start that they had promised, changing rewards and going back on what they've said, only folding to the community when getting a lot of backlash, taking resources from players, and players have been reporting losing a lot of resources. This I didn't go as much detail on, but to put it very simply, people have been losing their resources that they have worked hard for. So imagine losing like these resources. So bling is basically your equivalent of Mora, shell credits, and stuff like that. People have been losing this resource, just having it randomly disappear, which is not good. It's a very bad thing. And on top of that, people have also been losing wish stars. Now, whim stars are used to unlock the skill trees in the game, and to unlock, you can unlock new outfits from it. You can also unlock new like skills, new outfit pieces, stuff like that. You unlock new utility outfits from it. From doing the story, you have to use whim stars to unlock those. So if people are losing something that's a limited resource that is hard to collect and only limited numbers of them to collect, and it's ultimately a very bad thing. And there's been bugs like that where people are just starting to lose their resources, and people are like, do I have to take a screenshot of my resources every time before I get off just so I have proof that my resources aren't lost? Because hey, I don't really want to lose my resources either, and people are worrying about that and having to contact support to try and get their resources back. And especially with whim stars, which are limited, it makes it even worse. So imagine just losing your Animoculus, your Geoculus. It's like you can't ever get those back because those are limited resources. And that's another issue that a lot of people have been talking about. People have sent screenshots of them going negative into resources from losing their resources, especially in some of the shops in the game. And it's ultimately just very concerning the direction the game is going in with all these bugs. And it's not something that people are very happy with. And people are quitting because of 1.5. Now, I do think that they can turn this around and ultimately, go back on some of the changes, go back on the pity, and make the game better, because CN is also complaining about this a lot. And if CN and NA, or CN and Global, keep on complaining, then I feel like we'll be able to get some of the feedback. And if they decide not to listen to feedback, then I think this might be the end for the Infinity Nikki as a game. Started off as such an amazing game, such a chill, relaxing game with like a chill story, nothing crazy, some unique boss fights, right, as more of a platformer. But with this, it could spiral going into a negative direction. I do not want that, but I want to say that if you want there to be change, then share your opinion either through talking on Twitter, talking on YouTube. If you are a content creator, also make a video. I know that, you know, not everyone's a content creator, and you might not think that you will have like a good outreach or a good audience, right? You may think, okay, I'm only going to get like a couple of views on my video, but still try and speak out and speak in your opinions, speak in the feedback surveys, make videos, talk about it on Twitter, talk about it on Reddit. Just make sure that your opinion is heard so that we can get this game back to the original state that it was, which was such an amazing game. And that's all I have to say. I want the best for this game, but this is truly one of the worst gacha updates that I've seen in the history of playing gachas. And I've been playing gachas since 2011. Okay, it's been 13 years since I was like 9 years old. Well, I guess I was 8 years old. I was playing gachas, right? I had been playing like gachas on my phone and stuff like that. So I've been in this for a long time, and this is one of the worst things I've seen a company do. It's almost as if they're just trying to ruin their game, and I do not want to see this game ruined. In fact, this is one of the games where I want it to succeed, and it's been doing pretty well, and I just wanted to keep on doing well. So while Infinity Nikki content creators may not be making as many videos about this due to worries about the partnership program, so I completely understand. I just want anyone who's not affiliated to spread awareness about this issue. So that is all I have for you guys today. I will see you guys next time.